Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 18 of Les Oderants. I am Dan and I'm joined, as always, by Fliss, James and Ben. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Ben looked like he was yawning his way through that.
I was just, stretching out. I'm,
limbering up.
Yeah. This is my exercise for the week.
Yeah, limbering up.
Talking a fair bit is exercise in my world. Like,
yeah, no, that's fair. That's entirely fair. Right. I mean, interesting news from the world of perfumery. I don't know. I thought maybe I'd go first this week just to sort of break with tradition. And I'm just going to have to look at what I've posted on Instagram because that'll tell me what I've been wearing. Oh, Spice Bomb. Victor and Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. And it is okay. I mean, I know that's it's not like the most it's not like the most incredible review ever, but it is okay. And I'd sort of got every so often I have to remind myself that designer perfumes are not all fucking horrible shit. Just because you can buy them, like on the high street, doesn't mean they're terrible. And it's actually rather pleasant. So I sort of quite enjoyed that one. And it's got this slightly dangerous cumin note in it, which can quite often smell a lot like a fairly well worked armpit. And, in this case, it doesn't. It just sort of blends very nicely with the cinnamony, tobacco-y thing. And I posted a review on Instagram and it was immediately deleted and I was issued with a warning because they thought that I was... Well, I can't tell. They either thought I was trying to sell tobacco or I was trying to sell bombs or I was trying to sell spice or... one of those three things.
All three.
Or all three, yeah. It wasn't really clear, but they basically said that I was promoting banned products. And given that perfume is not a banned product, I can only infer...
Well, there are certain
maybe it's 'cause it's chemical warfare.
I was going to say there were certain aged perfumes that are banned now.
Well,
under
I suppose.
But they don't give a shit about that.
Was that
warfare.
Ben saying he doesn't like Spice Bomb or what?
Well, I would just like to interject here just for a second and say...
This is Spice Bomb Extreme, sorry. I don't think it makes a lot.
Right, yeah.
It changes everything, doesn't it?
I would still like to interject here and say, how dare you fucking bitch at my... Boise, whatever it is, Cedrat Boise
Cedi
last
B.
week. Cedi B, and then crack out a spicy B.
But this was never created by Bobby Montel. No, this was...
I have to say,
Olivier
Ben,
Polge,
you don't have a leg to
made
stand
that,
on.
didn't
I'm sorry. Mad Sarah versus Victor and Rolf. Hello.
I think James, you're right. It was Olivier Polge.
It's actually a really good fragrance. I only own the original one.
I think so.
And yeah, Olivier Polge made it. It's kind of like a hyped up, like hot version. And people go, no, what you on about? And no, I fucking know what I'm talking about, right? So listen up.
You're the arbiter.
I think it's like a hot, thicker version of Gucci Pour Homme 2. You'll go, what? It's the tea fragrance. It's nothing like it. Believe me, that spice accord is very similar.
Okay.
Except it's kind of heightened and spicier and hotter and much more in your face in the Spice Bomb.
Well, I've got the GPH2, so I will have to compare and contrast. But
you have to kind of root round to find it, and you'd go, well, why am I rooting around to find something that is so blatantly obvious and kind of... It's almost like when Spice Bomb came out, people were like, why is it called Spice Bomb? It should be called Sweet Bomb, right? Which I was like, yeah, fair enough, I suppose. But yeah, just have a little comparison of the two.
It's not terribly bombish or desperately spice-ish. I mean, it is, I guess, a bit of a mislabeled thing. But I mean, the bottle is shaped like a grenade. And I thought,
cool. is shit.
I for one, I for one am here for grenade-shaped bottles. I think that's fucking. That is a work of some genius. Well, I think some genius may be overstating the case. I also. What did I? So I also wore for the first time in a while Xerjoff Naxos, and Naxos is surprisingly okay. I feel like all my reviews are going to be, this is surprisingly okay. Naxos is okay. That is the extent of my review pretty well. I mean, it sort of, it smells nice. It lasts for quite a long time. As sort of Xerjoff stuff goes, it's not desperately expensive. I think I paid £130 for a 100 ml bottle, which is like not insane.
I think it's fairly on the nose, though, isn't it? It's very on the nose. It
doesn't do anything desperately exciting. Is the real problem with it?
The thing I think with Xerjoff, like you say there, like I don't know if it's because we live in a world where we buy all Xerjoff off Nilo and it's just grey prices, but for me, it's like I think they're like. In terms of value, like that they smell, opulent. Do you know what I mean? Like they smell like they're good quality. And when you're paying like £1 a mil, things like that, you think, well, what else is there that's comparable? Really, like the value is pretty out there. But then I say like maybe not retail. I've never even looked at their retail prices.
Well, they're increasingly absurd, and they have been pumping out more and more sort of by the numbers type releases and I think I've made mention before of the people who treat Xerjoff as like a lifestyle brand and go around putting that's amore on everything because they're sort of cunts, really. There's no other explanation.
So my knowledge of Xerjoff is limited at best, but is Naxos a kind of gourmandy,
it's tobacco,
rich sort of tobacco vanille type bullshit?
Yeah, it's gourmand tobacco. It's not bullshit. I don't think at all.
I think you might quite like it. It doesn't do tobacco vanille, so that I don't like tobacco vanille because I find the dried fruits sort of thing very claggy is the word I use to describe it. But this is a sort of honeyed tobacco, and it's quite almost transparent. It's quite clean. But it's very, very linear. But it ticks a lot. Yeah, it's very strong. It's very long-lasting. It smells good. It's not outrageously expensive, and it doesn't smell like everything else on the high street. If you want a direct comparison, it is basically a ponced-up version of Mugler Amen Pure Malt.
Oh, that's I'm gonna be whatever I'm gonna be right now, and just say if you want a better
what are you going to be, Fliss? What are you going to be?
Soma Halcyon, and I know Dan would never say this because it's his brand, but I think Soma Halcyon.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Shit.
It does.
And if I'm really honest, and Dan wouldn't be grumpy with me, and if I said neither of them are really in my wheelhouse at all.
No,
I find them
know
both.
This.
You know this, but I would genuinely say, despite neither of them being in my wheelhouse, that Soma Halcyon is better than the Naxos. So
well, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and spend all your money on Soma Halcyon because Fliss says it's right in her wheelhouse.
Halcyon was the one that I liked as well. I thought that was
thank you.
It was really good.
Right, I am not having this podcast turn into a discussion about my fragrance brand. That would be awkward. At best.
Zafiro is good from that line then, that Xerjoff line.
Zafiro is a sort of incensey... yes, there's three. Well, there's four now. I think they released a fourth one. So the original three were Renaissance, Naxos and Zafiro. Renaissance is like a sort of citrus minty thing, which is basically a ponced up clone of Guerlain Pour Homme, I think. And then Naxos was the ponced up version of Mugler Pure Malt, and Zafiro. I don't know.
Hold on, sorry. I'm just looking on Fragrance. It's Pure Havane. Do you mean Pure Havane?
Oh, Pure Havane. Sorry, not Pure Malt. You're quite right. Pure Havane.
I remember liking Naxos, by the way. So when I said bullshit before Fliss, I was just mean that whole like rich tobacco thing is bullshit. Even though I probably own a few. But you know what I mean, that like cherry sort of thing.
Don't let that stop you.
No, but
I'm being really honest. It's that particular smell is not my thing. But having done a little like recce over that particular genre, I think Naxos is beaten by Halcyon. So I'm
true. Well, that's fine to plug Dan's brand again. But
he's not paying me.
No, I know.
Oh my God, he's not paying me.
No, but that's you're being honest, and if it's coming from you, then our fans better believe that it's the truth. So what I'm saying is that pure Havane. I remember trying Naxos and going, actually, this is a much more refined, better version, and so it fucking should be, because it's much more expensive. Although
like
Pure Havane's probably, although Pure Havane is probably more expensive than Naxos now.
I think you're right, because it's discontinued and everyone fanboys for
and
that.
Fucking idiots want to buy it. Do you want to buy mine, anyone?
Only an idiot would buy this. Would you like to buy it? God damn it! Yes, but now you're going to call me an idiot. No, I don't even want to buy it. I don't know. The thing about Naxos is it's okay. It's never going to be troubling my fucking list of top 10 all-time perfumes, but I quite enjoyed it. It was pleasant, and it had a groovy little because it's a new bottle. It had a groovy little. It's not RFID. I forget what you call it. But the little
like
tag on it. Yeah, there's some sort of like near field type thing where you put your phone near it and a browser pops up and says, "Hey, would you like to open this website and perhaps buy more perfume?" Which I thought was kind of like a little bit twee, but enjoyable nonetheless. And then what else? Perfume, because I feel like it has to be in threes. So I picked up on eBay for a very reasonable price a bottle of Tom Ford Azure Lime in a funky green bottle, and it's actually quite pleasing. I'd never actually tried it. It was just a sort of speculative buy, and it's rather nice. I thought it was going to be all lovely, clean citrus, but it's almost got like a dirtiness to the limes, like it was a cleaning product that's used to clean up some shit, and they didn't clean it up properly, kind of thing. So, but not
Ben's salivating over here.
yeah, but not actual shit, but something a little bit off. Something, maybe some foodie. It's not like just it's not like a brilliant, luminous green, sharp, astringent lime. It's like it's tempered with something, and I don't know what it is, but it's like an imperfection. Maybe it's cumin or something like that gives it a slight BO-iness to it. I think it's fucking great. Really, really
I think
nice.
it's excellent. I think it's really excellent. And I think if it had have just gone that kind of clean lime, it would have just smelt a bit like a detergent or some sort of floor cleaner or something. And I think, I think possibly you always go that danger with, well, probably with all citrus fragrances, but especially when you do something like a lime that's sort of slightly out of step, and I think it pulls back from that really well. I think it's brilliant fragrance.
Do you know who made it?
If you want to sell it, I'll buy it. I think it's excellent.
Anyone know who made it?
No.
Antoine Lee.
Did he?
And
really?
Ellen Molnar, yes.
Ellen Molnar? Wasn't she off The X-Files?
Lol.
Wow, you know it's a well-landed joke when someone says "lol."
Head down with the kids there. Nice up to contemporary reference.
So contemporary.
1990s.
Yeah. Anyway, well, at least you fucking knew.
We got it. We loved X-Files, didn't we? It was great.
Yeah, exactly. I did not know it was Antoine Lie, actually. Is it Lee? Lie? Lee? I don't know. Interchangeable. I don't care.
I think our pronunciation on this website is so... Not website, this podcast is so shit that nobody cares anymore.
This is not a website.
And this is a website. But I think that everybody knows that we can't say anything, so we'll just live with it.
Absolutely. 100%. Anyway, so those are my three fragrant choices. Arbitrarily, James, I'm going to come to you next and ask you to talk about three exciting things that... well, they don't have to be exciting, but three perfumey things.
Well, they won't be exciting, so I'll just, manage your expectations right there.
Yeah. Good.
No, I was just thinking about pronunciation, right? Do you remember when, like, it was like a football commentator, like somebody like, I don't know, one of those like Tildesley or one of those fuckers off like ITV or something, used to, like, as all of a sudden someone told him that, like, oh, do you know that, like, all the Portuguese people, they're all called Jose, not Jose, and they're all called, like, instead of Gomez, it's like Gomesh and stuff like that. And then he started doing it, like, really over the top, and then just fucked it off. They do that sometimes, you know what I mean?
That sounds like a Jimmy Hill thing.
Yeah, or even just like during
Gomesh.
the same, or even just like during the same match, or like a match later, they'll be like, "Oh no, fuck that off now. I'm just gonna call them whatever." So
Gomez. The strangest pronunciation I ever heard from a football pundit was Zinedine Zidane. He pronounced it Zidane, which I've never heard anyone say Zidane before or after.
Right.
Anyhow.
I had an email from a client this week saying, "Dear facility."
Dear facility.
Dear facility.
That sounds like spell check fucking his shit right up.
No, I think they just generally think I'm like a toilet. I was like, wow, okay, no.
Toilety humour, perhaps.
Yeah.
I know you don't like to discuss what your actual, what it says on your birth certificate or whatever, but what is your actual? Is Fliss an actual name? I'm not being a dick. Right,
it's facility.
It's short for Felicity, isn't it?
My real name is Facility.
Yeah, I know you don't like Felicity, do you? Like, otherwise
I don't.
No.
But my parents, they didn't call me Felicity to call me Felicity. They call me Felicity so they call me Fliss, because in the Liver Birds, which was a big TV programme when I was born, there was a girl called Fliss, and apparently she was cool. And also Felicity Kendall was Fliss at the time as well.
Yeah.
So she was Rear of the Year I was born, which is no surprise.
Rear of the Year. Do they still do that? I mean, it does sound very modern and...
sounds fucking 70s, doesn't it?
It does rather. Rear of the Year. Nice. Good. Right, so James...
in Good Life, Felicity Kendall.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, can we get back to perfume?
Relevant.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I just was interested. Right, okay. So speaking of limey type shit, because that's what we were talking about with that as
limey shit.
Yeah, Fliss actually very kindly sent me some stuff which we've been discussing for a few weeks, or Fliss has mentioned the last couple of podcasts. So we got these.
And when we say Fliss has sent, what we mean is the duck has sent them to Fliss, and then Fliss has sent them on. So it's kind of...
these are your Grand
Cru. Anthologie de Grand Cru.
Buff.
L'Atelier Français de Mathias.
Amazing. I hope they're listening. I really hope they're listening.
Well, what happened in 1989 and 1990? Because if you look up Rear of the Year, there was no competition for 1989 or 1990. It was an arseless 2 years.
That was a bleak time.
Yeah. Yeah. Bleak period. Late 80s.
If you know...
It was either FHM or GQ that used to do it. I can't remember which.
It was a whole company, apparently. Yeah. There was a Rear of the Year Limited, and it was dissolved as a company in 2021. The last event was 2019, and it was won by Amanda Holden and Andy Murray.
Yeah.
Oh,
so Amanda Holden and Andy Murray.
They started doing men's as well, because it was for a while, it was just girls.
No, they started to do men's in 1997, I guess, when the world got a little bit more Tony Blair.
organised.
I don't know.
Yeah, Tony Blair.
New Labour, new rear.
Yeah. Things can only
equal
get
opportunities.
better.
Yeah.
Things can only get better.
Rears.
Right. Rears
A friend of
can only
mine,
get
by the way, did not know that Dr. Brian Cox was in
The keyboardist.
Yeah. And I was like, how do you not know this? Like, I mean, it's like one of those facts they give you
If
when
you've
you
listened
leave
to Radio
school.
4 even once in your life, you've probably learnt that
Well,
fact, right?
if you're even aware of who Brian Cox is, he's usually introduced as like physicist and keyboardist from D-Ream. It's like, it's just one of these facts that everybody knows. It's like, what are you, some sort of cultural desert that you don't know this stuff? It makes no sense. Anyway, right, fuck me. We're going to talk about perfume. James.
Yes.
Your Grand
sorry.
Cru. Your
Right,
Grand
the
Cru
Grand,
from
Grand
Dove.
Crus. I'm going to rinse through them because there's only 5, and
Right.
I can go through them quite quick. So the first one is the Ombre Stone L'Atelier de L'Atelier, and I mean it's superb, right? It's kind of like a sort of proto version without some of the green elements, and maybe without the tuberose, maybe with some tuberose, I don't know. It doesn't say it has it, but it definitely has that ambergris, very, very amazingly kind of musky, real ambergris base, and yeah, just a stunning perfume, really good. I didn't find it's quite simple in the sense that it's reminiscent of that Amber Supreme one, but also the one, Eugene's one that I love, Descendres, without the smokiness and without some of those elements taken away. But generally, the kind of core of it is this ambergris, and it is spectacularly good. So I thought that was excellent, that one. But again, slightly more simplified. Then there's this one, which is the Bergamot di G. Franco, which I'm assuming G. Franco is the supplier of the bergamot oil. I did read a little bit inside, and it did say, you know, it's an Italian bergamot oil thingy, and you can see how green it is. When I first sprayed this on my skin, I thought I'd actually wrote a review that said it was dog shit. Because I was like, I can't believe that there's a bergamot oil that is so flat and or the composition that they've made just flatten this bergamot oil. Because I've had some cheap bergamot oils that smell really, really good, and they work in compositions and they're really bright for top notes and stuff, even though they're not the best quality. And this is supposed to be some Grand Cru shit, and I found it really flat. However, I sprayed it on a card last night, and it smelled well better on the card. Now, I don't know if it's just, again, skin chemistry's bullshit in my opinion. Well, it's not, but that's a complex conversation for another time. But I would say it definitely smelled different on a card, and I actually quite liked it, although it's a pretty boring meh of a bergamot fragrance if you're not really, into
For
bergamot.
me, it was one of the best of the lot, though. I found there was a really good balance for me between the smokiness and the sharp citrusness of the vetiver. I've just found it was really balanced, but I still felt it wasn't a full. I mean, and all of what I'm saying is, caveated that they are all excellent materials. You cannot smell them and not go, oh my god, these are exquisite materials. But I just felt it wasn't a perfume. I was just like that. Yeah, that's great oil, but it's not a perfume.
That's fair enough. I honestly don't see much of a distinction between these and Les Indomptables. Yes, these are kind of, like I say, a sort of proto version and whatever. But yeah, I get what you're saying, like the showcasing the oils and stuff, and some of them are that. Certainly that bergamot one is. The Amber Stone one is definitely a composition, although it's more simple than some of the later Les Indomptables ones that came along. It's still a really good perfume in terms of like how those materials are brought together. Speaking of which, the Jasmine one, right? Although you might not like really love it, or people who are really into Jasmine might be like, that's not really Jasmine. That's what caught my attention about it. It's almost that thing of like when labo make something and they call it something and you're expecting that, and all your expectations, like, I know this is just going to be a linear jasmine, it might be the really good jasmine, etc. This is not that. It's actually sort of tempered. It's kind of like dry and sort of not that like typical
I thought
jasmine.
the jasmine was exquisite.
Yeah, that's one of the best
exquisite,
ones.
But it lasted for literally 55 minutes.
Yeah, it's not very
And then
strong.
It just went into just like nothingness, and I was like, I was literally in love for less than an hour.
Yeah,
and then nothing.
That's because most jasmine
can't.
accords are made of aroma chemicals that last for ages. And yeah, they can make really good ones.
Yeah, I was going to say that's unusual for jasmine, isn't it? You expect a jasmine note to last forever.
Mm-hmm. It made me so sad because I literally put it on and I was like, oh my god, I was in heaven, and I literally was so excited. I went downstairs. I was like so excited. I took my phone out to start to write my notes, and as I was writing my notes, it disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking hell.
It's gorgeous, but that's probably why it fails as a perfume, and I get that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Then we have this Vetiver de Pierre, which...
is that like literally Pierre's vetiver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice one, Pierre.
Taste-wise, I don't really particularly like it. As a showcase of vetiver, it's brilliant. As a vetiver material, it's fantastic. It's not what you're expecting. I don't think a lot of vetiver fans don't really know that vetiver itself is actually as diverse as oud oil, and you can get into it as much as people get into oud oil, because it's that different from different distillation methods, different types of vetiver, the origin of them and stuff like that. The aging of them all makes a difference. And maybe even the time of year that they harvest it or whatever, I don't know. But this is a particularly kind of slightly stinky, like sort of aggressive, like vetiver. It doesn't have like the like clean tones. It's not really that sort of like perfume. It's quite dirty. I think you'd like this, Ben. And you can tell it's a really good vetiver. And like I say, from knowing a few different types of the oil, I can tell it's a really good vetiver, and they're showcasing it in this. So it's a good perfume. I just taste-wise, I'm not that down with it, but I think it could potentially grow on you. But it's a very, very good example of vetiver. Then you have the last one, which is Vanille d'Amine, which I suspect Fliss hates this. Am I right?
I didn't hate it, but I just was like, there was no vanilla there. It was all just pepper and cloves.
Yeah.
It was mental spicy, and there was just no smoothness. There was no vanilla for me, and I could be anosmic. I don't know.
Well,
but it just felt like it was. I felt like sneezing a lot, and I was sad.
I'll just say, I get where you're coming from. It's not particularly a vanilla fragrance, right? But again, what they've done is pretty clever, because I think having the showcase of the material as being vetiver and then kind of subverting that by going, here's a load of like mental, it's not even straight, it's a really good clove oil or whatever the material is, because it doesn't smell like atypical. Again, it's got a real character of this particular clove oil, and you can tell it's really, really good quality. Now, some people will say, oh, it smells like a fucking hippie shop, or it's too much and it's not very subtle and things like that. When it dries down a bit, you get some of the subtlety, and you get the fact that it has to be paired with vanilla to sort of temper it a bit. But you're saying like smoothness and all that. I don't think vanilla is not smooth. Like real, like the oleo resin, or I think that's what they've used in this, is pretty resinous. It's not really sweet. Like when you maybe sort of have it slightly dilute and in a tiny amount in something else, it becomes creamy and sweet and whatever. But when it's like really raw and thing, it's more like benzoin or other things than it is, like vanillin basically, or like a vanilla accord, or like a custardy kind of smell, or like Guerlain kind of vanilla. This is like raw, very resinous vanilla. And I think it kind of works in this context. I found it really grew on me, and I thought it was really good. And just to speak to, because I was expecting exactly what you and Rich Mitch said about it. And I didn't really get that. I got that, like, you know, I put a lot of weight on, they got Antoine Lee in. I mean, Antoine Lee might have made these for all I know, because there's no information on who made them.
He's not been named. It's unusual for him not to be named. He's usually named, isn't he?
But whoever has made them knows what they're doing and knows how to use these materials to make something that I consider them as finished as like the Les Indomptables ones, to be honest. I prefer the Les Indomptables lineup, but I still found these to be like.
I feel as if they are for absolute enthusiasts who are interested in the materials. And for me, I loved smelling them. I don't want to be like piss on their parade or anything. I really enjoyed being with them. I just can't imagine buying a bottle of any of them.
No.
And I felt like they were very, very, very material based, and it was, I don't know, it was a bit like looking like a bit of modern art, like looking at a Rothko when it's just the whole canvas is red or the whole canvas is blue or the whole canvas, you know what I mean? I felt, for me, it just like
I get what you mean.
I missed a story. I missed a lightness. I felt they were all quite serious.
Yeah.
Very serious perfumes about, you know, we're being serious about the things that we're putting in them and the materials. And I missed
Why when you're trying to convey seriousness do you do a really unserious voice?
I don't know, but you know what I mean, though. You do know what I mean. I just felt like
I know what you mean.
I just felt like they were just very earnest, and I didn't really like the earnestness of them, and that just made me a bit like, come on.
I get that, and I think that's probably why they had a reboot as Les Indomptables, because these were much too much of an in, you know what I mean, like an in thing with like people who know about the materials or whatever. And most of them don't care. You need to have something that's got a commercial viability as well. And I think that I
don't think any of them are very commercial at all.
No,
you can love them for the materials, but they're not commercial.
No. And that's where they've struck a balance with the Les Indomptables, because they've still got that kind of respect for the raw materials, but they're making compositions that are much more likable, I'd say.
Yeah.
So that was those.
Cool.
I mean, I could talk about Darren Allen, but I've gone over. I've been talking for ages on it. Did you not like those?
Allen?
Nope.
You didn't like any of them?
I don't know what Darren Allen is.
Nope.
I don't like indie perfumers, and I've only tried 4 of them, and I thought they were pretty good, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't want to, because have you heard of this Darren Allen guy? I've seen annoying fucking like people on Instagram and stuff, and I'm like, no, he's probably a shit indie perfumer from America. I don't care. But I've actually tried them, and I'm like, I've got to eat some fucking humble pie there, because out of the 3 of them, I hated one of them. Out of the 4 that I've tried, I hated them, and I kind of liked 2 of them, and one of them I thought was amazing, which is
which one?
I'll tell you now. I think it's called Cupid's Bow.
Oh, God, I think I wrote awful things about Cupid's
Bow.
Bow.
Cupid's Bow is absolutely spectacular, man. I mean, if he's copied that formula from somewhere, like, I'm being really cynical here, like, you get credit for making something really good. You can't possibly have made something really good. No, this smells like, I don't even like Turkish Delight, right? But it smells like the most delicate, like rose-watery Turkish Delight with chocolatey kind of. It's not that cacao sort of like bullshit. It's really, really well made, fantastic with like patchouli and stuff. It's like, then I think Rich, I was talking to him last night about it, because I only just sprayed it last night, and I said, oh, this Cupid's Bow one's amazing. And he went, oh, it's no Noir de Noir. And I was like, Noir de Noir fucking wishes it was this perfume. And I quite rate Noir de Noir as a pretty good perfume. This is really good. I can't.
Do you know what I wrote?
Go on.
I wrote, Cupid's bow. The most horrific synthetic chocolate, worse than Montal, fucking awful, total scrap. And I don't mean to be awful about Darren Allen. I just found it so synthetic. I couldn't cope with it at all. I mean, this is the amazing thing about. I mean, I don't.
So not one you're planning on buying a full bottle of. Then,
no. So this is the amazing thing about indie perfumery or any perfumery, isn't it? Is that two different people can have completely different takes, and I don't want to be like Darren Allen's shit or whatever like that. I don't want it to happen like that. But for me, my personal notes were, I literally had to scrub it off.
What did you think? Just while we're on the subject. What did you think of... I think you mentioned the After the Rain one the other day.
No, I haven't tried that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's move on from that one because it's... I think he did an okay job, to be honest, of using those kind of materials like a petrichor, jasmine, that kind of After the Rain. You know what it's going to smell like, right? But he gave a kind of floral accord to it as well, which I thought was really good because... it needs that. No, the one that I actually quite liked as well was Musk Moderne, which I felt had like a kind of almost like a powdery sort of pastel kind of violet kind of opening, and then into like a really cozy musk, as the name would suggest. And I thought, yeah, it's all right that. So, not a glowing report, and there's loads more to try. So. But I think generally speaking...
There's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot. I think I stopped after a while because I just felt like... I know that he gets a lot of love from like the indie crowd and the perfume community, and I just felt like after a couple of them, I felt that they were just so not in my wheelhouse. I found them very synthetic smelling. I stopped... I realised I wasn't writing anything nice about any of them, and I just thought, you just got to stop this. Just don't. So, and I don't want to be mean because I know it's someone is. This is, he's obviously got a whole niche and people love what he's doing. It's just not my thing. So I need to just not speak.
Yeah, I get it. I feel that because I kind of hit this thing where I'm just like, indie perfumers are shit. Indie perfumers are shit. And I don't want them to be. I want them to be like really good, but it's just unfortunate, that a lot of it is crap.
I don't want to even. I don't even want to go that far and say that it is. I'm just like it. He's obviously got a market, which is great, but I'm not that market, so I shouldn't even review it. I should just shut up.
I don't even know who the fuck this dude is, so I am going to interject and gently move us on, if that's all right. Ben looks like he's about to slip into some sort of coma, so I'm going to pick on him and say, wakey, wakey, Ben, tell me something perfumey.
Talking about bad pronunciations, this week I've mostly been wearing a couple of perfumes, but I can't pronounce any of this. Santi Burgas.
Oh yeah.
Egnaro. It's a orange and ginger perfume. And
nice.
I remember I wanted it because I could never get the Floriku one.
The one that I got for 40 quid.
Yeah, yes, the one that you got for 40 quid. And so I started seeking out like alternatives and found this one. And God, this is different, but it's brilliant. But you've got the oranges and you've got the ginger and the spiciness of that ginger, which reminds me a little bit of the ginger in Hermes and Jardin. Is it Après la Mousson? I think. And with it, whereas it's quite a spicy ginger, and it does have like a sort of, spiciness to it, rather than that sort of sweet ginger or crystallized ginger or anything like that. It's like a fresh, spicy ginger. But then the whole thing is underscored by just mass dosage of artificial civet, which is magnificent. And it just turns it into this...
I did not expect you to say that.
I know, and it's a really fruity perfume. It really throws it through into this like skank den that's sort of like this weird metallic sort of BO smelling skank den. It's great. I love it. It's really good. It's
what's it called?
both the
Santi Burgos? What?
Santi Burgas.
Is it Ignaro?
Yeah, Ignaro. Yeah, and it's just it's one of those perfumes where you would wear it on a summer's day and you feel like it should be for high heat, but at the same time, it's slightly weird for that. It's interesting, and I think I did that with both perfumes this week, because the other perfume I've been wearing a lot of is MCM Oris, which I think I might have sent you guys before, and that's a fucking weird perfume. That's an iris perfume, but with a shit ton of pink pepper. So Dan, I'm pretty sure you would hate it. But also then this huge citrus top that's sort of a bit mandarin, a bit grapefruity, and it gives it this like really weird, like Xerox space age kind of vibe. And it just turns like what the reason I really like it is that it seems to subvert iris in a way that turns it into this weird summer perfume. This weird citrus perfume. Because I mean, normally when you think of iris perfumes, they tend to be like sort of smooth, silky evening perfumes, right? Like often that's the way they're kind of composed, are these kind of, evening perfumes that are a little bit like date nights or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or they're very cold and metallic and sort of like lifeless, dead feeling, a bit vampiric and a bit goth. Whereas this sits nowhere near either of those and becomes this strange summer hot day perfume full of citrus and pink pepper and weird alien fax machine. I don't know, it's really cool. I love
alien
it,
fax machine.
Weird. Yeah,
I mean, that does sound weird. I'm quite taken by the concept of an alien fax machine. I like that.
They've mastered interstellar travel, but they're still using fucking faxes. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're an enigma.
It's like
they're strange.
Football.
It's like the Japanese.
It's like football transfer windows. They always end with some sort of frantically sent fax, like from like a spaceship, presumably. Okay, bizarre. Well, that's a couple. Yeah. Anything else of particular note? What you would like to mention?
No, that's literally it. I've been wearing that like all week because it's been really hot, and I just kind of got into them. Just got into both of them. The MCM one I got really into. I sprayed it like one day like 3 times because I just kept wanting more, and I was like, oh, it's dying down a little bit. I'm going to go and spray it again all over myself.
Nice.
So that was nice. But yeah, just those two really. But the Santi Burgos one I think is really interesting. That's the more interesting of the two. The MCM one's just fucking eccentric. But I like it. They're both sort of add a new dimension to typical kind of summer citrus, which is nice.
Cool. All right, that's brilliant. Fliss, facility. Facility. Tell us all about facilities. What would you like to talk about, Fliss?
I've been wearing a lot of Player Linda by Chronotape.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Did you get a bottle of that?
I do have a bottle of that.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. I was going to say that's how you wear a lot of it. Then you're not just working off like a sample. Good.
No.
Right.
I've got a big bottle, and it's just hot, salty goodness with very dry florals. It's kind of flies in the face of all of those. Yeah, it flies in the face of all of those summer beach frags, which can be very kind of, what's the word, sun creamy, and that kind of unctuous sun creamy feel. This is very dry. The sun is beating on the dry sand, and it's hot, salty skin coming out of the water. But there are florals in there. There's a lot of mimosa and stuff. But I didn't love it to start with, but now I almost, like this last 2 weeks, I think I've worn it 70% of the days. I can't imagine not wearing it now. It's been suddenly become a real love, and I think that.
Are you becoming a one fragrance person?
No, I'm not, but it's just become a really easy reach, which surprises me from a house like Chronotope, because I don't think that anything that Carter produces is an easy reach when you first smell it. And I think that he's kind of fearless in the way that he makes these really difficult perfumes in some respects. But I have really fallen in love with it, and I'm wearing it a lot, and I can't not wear it at the moment. And I think that
you sound like you're in confessional. You sound like you're confessing to some sort of horrible crime here. Almost like you're a bit guilt-ridden.
No, I'm not guilt-ridden, but I feel like maybe on the episode that we did, I didn't love a lot of his stuff, which is fine, and that's a thing. But becoming more aware of it, or just living in it a little bit more, I'm loving it more. And I feel as if I didn't, maybe in that Chronotope episode, I don't think I maybe gave it enough time. And I think that he is a really amazing perfumer when it comes to stuff like just being quite raw, and none of it, I don't know, maybe some of his stuff is definitely a love, but I think you have to give it time, and then maybe it's different. I don't know. I'm not expressing myself very well.
Well, I think you're expressing yourself very nicely indeed.
I feel like I just...
You look a little bit misty-eyed about all of this. It's interesting. And I'll tell you what I like about what you've just said in particular is the fact that it's clearly grown on you. And it's sort of crept up from being something you quite liked. I remember you being reasonably positive about it, but to hear you now sort of going on about how you've worn it multiple days in a row and how you now love it, I think that's nice. It's sort of shown that you've sort of persisted with it. And I think one of my worst crimes when it comes to perfume is that I very seldom persist with stuff. If it doesn't sort of immediately, slap me around the cerebral cortex, I basically just go, oh, fuck this shit, and on to the next thing. So I've got like a really short attention span. And I do what's that?
Shiny thing. I think that's really easy to do, isn't it? And I think that there's something about, we all are looking, of course, we're all fucking mad collectors, so we're all just looking for the next dopamine hit. But there is also something about taking more time and having a relationship with the perfume a little bit more. And, I think that what Carter does, he has a real foot in vintage stuff, but he also has his other foot is like in mad modernity. I think a lot of his stuff wouldn't be out of place in the zoo. And there's also a load of stuff in the zoo that I wouldn't wear. But this kind of like...
Just to clarify, you mean the brand of the zoo?
Stuff.
Yeah.
No, not an actual zoo. I meant Christophe Ladimel's zoo, which is currently no longer in production. But I think that both of them produce really mental stuff that isn't an immediate love, and you do need to spend some time with it. And I think that it's easy if you're testing a lot. Yeah, it's very conceptual. If you're testing a load of stuff, it's really easy to sniff it and go, that's not for me. But actually spending more time with it, and go, oh, actually, maybe it is.
Yeah, I mean, my challenge is that I find the kind of the first bar that we need to clear is that it needs to smell nice. Which I know not all of you necessarily have that as a binding constraint on whether or not you like a perfume. But
looking at you, Ben.
Yeah. But for me, that is basically bar number one, unfortunately. So that does exclude a lot of concept stuff for me. But there you go. Good. Well, it's nice to hear you sort of so pumped about that one. Is there anything else you want to talk about then, given how much you've been rinsing that?
Well, I was in London and I passed through the Chanel sort of concession in King's Cross twice in a week. And both times I sprayed Comet. And I was a bit like,
Is that the noise you made?
Yeah, I was like, it's really lovely. It's very nicely done.
It's lovely.
It's lovely. It's a little bit heliotropy for me. It's not too sweet. It's definitely not a full-on gourmet vanilla, but I wrote, my notes are, it's a very sweet little release. I mean, if I could patronise it a bit more, how could I patronise it a bit more? Release. It's a nice, sweet little release. It's no Le Leon. There's nothing about it that goes, oh my God, rah, Chanel has done a release. It just slips into the back of those exclusive lines as something nice for the ladies, something nice for the mums. It's just, I just felt like...
You sound ever so slightly dismissive of it, Fliss.
I really am. I feel...
Yeah.
I think it's delightful, but it's not worth the hefty price tag. If you want another nice vanilla, there's thousands of them out there. And I just felt it was a bit... And I was reading some stuff online about all these people just like, all the influencers raving about it. And I was like, are you fucking mental?
They've been fed a new Chanel, haven't they? And that's what they tend to do.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a bottle of the new Chanel, so it must be nice about it. And I was like, well, it is very nice. It's very classy. It's very Chanel. Of course it is. But it's not amazing.
Is it a panty dropper?
No.
No. Well, there you go. I'm personally not interested.
Well, that's me out then.
Yeah. Just on. Go on, James. Sorry.
It's because I'm just probably going off on a tangent. But what I would say to people at the moment is, don't concern yourself with perfume. Get out into nature, because at the moment the linden blossom is out, and it smells fucking beautiful. Right. So linden trees are really common. And if you don't know what you're looking for, they have like growth around the trunk. So look for trees that have got look like they've got a bush, like a hedge. They have quite big sort of flat leaves on the bottom. And then the linden blossom is like kind of dangly, sort of yellowy looking kind of blossom things. And you catch the smell of those in the breeze, and it is stunning. It's like kind of a mixture, slightly jasmine-y, slightly honeysuckle. It's bright. It's beautiful. And so get yourselves out in nature
as well, though,
and smell it. Sorry, Fliss.
No, it's quite heady as well.
It's beautiful.
I also want to go off on a tangent because I forgot to mention I tried Boy again, Chanel Boy. And I remember thinking Chanel Boy was a great perfume, but I tried it again today, and Chanel Boy is a really fucking boring perfume. It is. Yeah. It did nothing for me. It smells pleasant. So, I guess, basic bar met, but it wasn't interesting. It wasn't sort of particularly charming. It just sort of sat there smelling of stuff. And there was nothing at all that spoke to me about it for some reason today. And I was just like, nah, don't like it.
I found it very soft, and I also found it incredibly fleeting, and I couldn't get it to last on me more than about 30 minutes. And I went through 5 ml in a day, and I just thought, at that price, that's pointless.
Are you going to speak in its defence, James?
No. I don't dislike it. It was okay.
I didn't dislike it either, but it was okay.
Jersey, it didn't make me recoil as well.
I think if you're looking for a lavender, then Jersey's better.
All right. Well, I was not all that impressed. Right. Look, there is a bit of news, and it concerns a scurrilous rumour about the replacement of a particular perfumer at a particular house. But I want to save that till part 2, because I want to base the rest of part 2 around said rumour. And therefore, unless any of you has got something burning you would like to vomit up into the audio, I'm going to wrap it up, grab a drink, and we'll be back in 5 minutes with part 2 of Les Oderants, stick with us. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Les Oderants. This week we have a little bit of news. Well, it's a rumour, and it's a rumour that we intend to spread, whether it's true or not. And like all information on this show, the puppet master is, of course, Rich Mitch. He tells us what to say, and then we show up and we fucking say
He's
it.
more or less a producer at this point.
He should-
I mean, he is. Yeah, I keep saying he's the fifth odorant, but I think he's basically just.
He's feeding us information, and the snippet of information he's given us.
And samples.
And sample. Well, in your case, it's been a while since I've received anything, Richard. Memo to the producer. So, in this case, it's quite an interesting rumour. I can't really speak to how truthful it is, but this is what we've been told, which is that Christina Nargel is out at Hermes and is to be replaced by Quentin Biche. What do we make of that? Is everything at Hermes?
Quentin.
Yeah,
The name Quentin does match Hermes, doesn't it?
Quentin's Hermes. The big Q. I mean, is everything at Hermes now just going to smell like it's been spewed out of a Marc-Antoine Barrois factory? Is that the plan?
See, this is what I wonder though. So, Hermes has such a strong, I hesitate to use the term DNA, but you know what I mean. It has such a strong feel to their fragrances, and when Nargel took over from JCE, it's still retained a bit of that, right? So you wonder, do they have like a house formula, right, that has to sort of be incorporated into all their perfumes or worked around or something like that? So are we going to see like a sort of Biche version of that, or is he just going to just like throw the whole thing in the bin and start anew? I mean, who knows?
For me, if it's true, it's going to be worse than Sports Frags, because I know that he produces hit on hit on hit, but I just don't get what he does. I find it all very on the nose. I find it all really brutal. I don't find it that it sits in any way with that, that sleek, the delicacy of Hermes, what they do. And I can't imagine it being a good fit. And I know that Nargel is no JCE, but she has done some lovely things. I think Galop is gorgeous. I really enjoyed Paddock. I think she's done some good stuff. Violet Vlonica, I really enjoyed as well. I think she does good stuff. But Biche is just a no-no for me. I'm just like, not good.
Well, I mean, I think Biche has like an enormous back catalogue, right? I mean, huge number of perfumes. I'll just have a quick check on Fragrantica. But he has got.
I was just going to say, let's go through it.
He's got 154, right? But it's only recently that things have. Well, I mean, he did Bad Boy Extreme and Bad Boy, so I mean that's good enough for me. He's got some real fucking shit on his list here. But anyway, I mean,
1 million parfum.
He made a fragrance for Armaf called "Private Key to My Success."
The private key to my success. That sounds like some sort of weird fucking sexual euphemism. But it's his sort of recent work for Marc-Antoine Barrois and that's Was Imperial. What's that?
That's really
essential,
him, isn't it? What you would say, that is the essence of what he does. That kind of outrageously like in your face, sort of like modern, crudely sort of incense. I mean, he does a lot of incense perfumes.
But he's done lots of other stuff that, I mean, I'm just scanning through it, trying to find something which has got the class.
This is the point.
Guidance for Amouage.
You don't become a master perfumer by just doing the same shit over and over again. No matter how much of a style you have, you've got to be able to do all the fact that he's been able to do all this work for all these different clients and different things just shows that he is one of the, because he's kind of one of the sort of younger, like, you know, newer generation, even though I don't know, he's probably fucking 50 or something, but he's like doing stuff that's it's like being able to have that sort of be well apply your trade and be well-rounded and do lots of different things. But is that why Hermes have brought him in?
I would say that he's not like, he's not like Morillas. Morillas is like hugely prolific, and he seems to be able to fit himself into a number of different ways of being. I mean, it's almost bland sometimes the way that he just like goes for it. Whereas Beach, I think, doesn't really have a style, and even just looking at some of the stuff that he's done recently, like Guidance, he did Valaya, Delina, all of those Perfume de Marly stuff, Astral, Tuberose, they all have, even if they are slightly different, they still have this really on-the-nose DNA, which I don't think fits with the classicism of Hermes. And I know that Biche is, for me, not my perfumer, so I'm not going to slag him off, because I think that people love him. But I just don't see him as that classical Hermes
so
thing.
Intuitively, I sort of agree, although just, because this is Les O's and, we'll argue against each other constantly, I guess I would sort of argue that, it's clearly a talented perfumer who can do different things, because not all of his perfumes are the same by any stretch, and perhaps he can do a Hermes house style, I don't imagine he's going to turn the entire Hermes house style upside down. They're not a business who seem to be in the market for revolution. But one, I'm just going through his list, and it's a fucking long list, but one in particular stands out to me, which is, well, actually two. I've gone on and on about the Rubius Milano Bleu as a lovely, high-end leather fragrance, which I think is very delicate and extremely classy. But also he's done a couple for YSL. And he did one called Grand de Poudre, which is a sort of powdery, musky, suede leather thing, which is extremely elegant, and by the standards of his more recent stuff, it's very, very refined and smooth. There's none of that, whatever it is, the Ambro fix or whatever the molecule he uses from Givaudan is. None of that. It's just a really classy, elegant perfume, and that actually I think would fit quite nicely in an Hermes line. So I don't think it's beyond him, but his default style doesn't seem to fit the Hermes house style at all.
The thing is that Rubius Milano Bleu, right? And I think that's an excellent perfume, but it's not like understated or class, like a lot of Hermes stuff has that understated class to it, right? Whereas Rubius Bleu is a little bit more on the nose and a bit more upfront and bombastic, isn't it? Although, like we spoke before, I mean, I think that was really what it was made to be anyway, wasn't it? It was like, didn't you say before, like he was basically said, like, there is no limit to what you can spend on this, or something like that. So like it's clearly it's more bombastic than you might expect from Hermes, but I don't know, it's not what I would not ever smell that perfume and think, oh, this is an Hermes fragrance. Do you know what I mean? Or even remotely close. So that's interesting.
I would definitely check out
interesting.
Grand de Poudre, though, as a sort of alternative, and something which could be Hermes without too much fuss.
I think it's quite exciting. I think it's
I
an
do.
exciting rumour. I'm looking forward to it.
Just to
if it is true,
play devil's advocate here and say, because I get what you're saying, and he does have this distinct style, but imagine, I think he could very well surprise us and definitely have the ability to make classic understated Hermes stuff and make new classics for Hermes, and I really, really hope he does. And he kind of changes his aesthetic, because if you were going to compare him to anybody, the fact that he's got that back catalogue of work would be someone like Morillas or somebody like that. I get that in recent years, he's done all that Marc-Antoine Barrois stuff, and he's done some real crap for Jean-Paul Gaultier, and he's done loads of stuff that's just like meh, but he's the kind of go-to guy. He's built himself up as this, like I say, the kind of newer generation of like master perfumer. And I think you'd be surprised. And it may be a case where he's like, imagine like Bon Jovi, who really didn't want to go out and do Bon Jovi songs every night. He's like, I just want to fucking play jazz, man. Do you know what I mean? And he's just never been given the opportunity, right? And he's been given an amazing job as the the perfumer at Hermes. And why would you fucking turn that down? You wouldn't, because it's a very prestigious appointment. And he's probably relishing that, and hopefully he'll take it on with a lot more gusto than Mr. Francis Kirkshan has done at Dior. And again, that might not be his fault. It could be Dior's fault. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. He might just be there to be a name and be a yes man and whatever. But he hasn't done any fucking work, right? Like, what has that guy done? Like, that is a cushy fucking job he's got there at Dior.
Sweet gig,
because he hasn't made any perfumes. Yeah, exactly. He's just sat back and gone, yeah. Anyway, so back to Hermes. I think Biche has got it in his locker, and he's got the ability to surprise us and do something good. Unless Hermes want to go in a different direction. They want to kind of compete on this level, but I don't think that they do. I don't know. I hope they don't. But they have been going in that direction already with Nigel, by the way. Making things that are a bit screechy and a bit rubbish. Like, I mean, that one that we tried the other week, that paddock, wasn't quite that, but it certainly wasn't, classic Hermes. They're not remaking a Bellamy or something. But what perfume house is? Yeah, which one's making that kind of stuff? I don't know. Just one of note. Sorry, just while we're on Biche, he made something recently which I think is kind of glorious, but too bombastic and over the top. And I think you would like it, Dan, because it's an extreme fougere to the point of like, it's too much. That guilty elixir.
Okay.
Have you tried that? The green one, elixir parfum pour homme. Try it. Because I'm not sure whether I hate it or I think it's fucking genius.
So someone else has recommended that to me as well, but he's done a few for Eldo, which I've seen, and
I've just sprayed one on my particular Soleil.
I don't think I've ever tried any of those ones, but I remember the name. One of you guys reviewed Attaque Le Soleil Marquis de Sade. Because I remember the name. It's a hell of a name, that. Etat Libre d'Orange Attaque Le Soleil Marquis de Sade. That has to be the longest name of a perfume I've ever heard of. Who was it? Was it you, James, that talked about it?
I've got it, yeah.
Yeah, and you like that one?
Love it. I mean, it smells of labdanum. It smells of labdanum.
I've literally just sprayed it on.
Yeah.
I just found my sample set because I didn't even realise it was a Biche. I didn't realise he'd done any Eldos.
I actually spoke to the perfumer about that. I spoke to Biche himself, and because I went, I'm not sure whether I love this or I hate it. It's dead simple. It's blah, blah, blah. And then he actually got in touch and said, it's just labdanum. Right?
That's all it is.
And he was like, yeah. Wow. And I was like, okay, because I said, is it ambrome? Because there's something a bit weird about it. But he just said it's this amazing labdanum material that he had the opportunity to use, and he decided to use it, and he showcased it in there. I mean, there's little tricks that they use. Do you know what I mean? It's not just that. I mean, he's made a perfume out of it, but generally speaking, it is just one material. And I mean, just the audacity to do that, and to have something that has these elements of like this animalistic. Like it's got that ambrome thing about it, right? Which it kind of smells superficially like labdanum, and then goes to this weird something else. And that weird something else is prominent in this oil. The stuff that I get from Pay and Bertrand or wherever, I think that's the one that I get, the labdanum absolute, doesn't have any of that. It just smells like the glorious labdanum. So it doesn't have that animalistic thing. His does, and that particular one does. I think it's fantastic. I mean, a lot of his perfume, by the way, is driven by labdanum, and if he uses it in such a way to create really, really magic perfumes, like I'm wearing Roger Dove today, the Enigma EDP or whatever, and that has a beautiful sort of use of labdanum. So if he uses it as that kind of like central, like catalyst sort of thing that it's always traditionally been used in perfumery, instead of just making a big turbo bomb of, you know, his usual kind of mad, sparkly, crazy, intense incense, I think he can do really good things. And I think we may well be surprised. I really hope we are. I think it's quite an exciting appointment, because who else is big enough to take over at Hermes? Who can you think of that isn't like knocking on the door of fucking retirement, or got another job somewhere else,
pushing up the daisies? Yeah, no, I think there is definitely something to that. You know, the short list of potential candidates is going to be probably very, very short indeed. So, I mean, look, I think it's an interesting appointment. I sort of reserve judgment about it. You know, Hermes to me are not my favourite sort of house. I don't have a particularly strong opinion on it. I guess I've been fairly underwhelmed with what Nigel has done so far that I've tried. So, I mean, it seems to me that probably he's unlikely to do any worse. So, so why not? But it sort of got me thinking about, you know, what are the other rumours that exist, and even if they don't exist, let's start making some up. You know, what are the things you would like to change if you were the sort of you know, the guiding hand of the fragrance industry, just quietly sort of in the background making things happen. You know, what are the things you would want to happen? And I can almost hear you know, someone yelling from the back of the room about Ephraim, give us back our oak moss, and I can sort of almost imagine James's horror at having to engage in a discussion like that. So I'm not going to do that. But you know, that kind of thing. If you were the fragrance genie able to grant a bunch of wishes, what are the things that you would want to change? I you know, just to sort of kick us off, I came up with a few. I mean, the first thing, I want to ban the use of the term elixir. It's such a cunty word, right? And it's also really difficult to pronounce. Elixir, elixir. Say it a few times.
Doesn't even mean
Elixir.
anything.
It sounds like a magic potion of some description.
It's I don't like the. It's one
Why
of
are you
those
doing
words.
Fliss's serious voice?
yeah, Fliss, is that you? Yes, very, very much, yes.
It really is.
Yeah. For some reason, the word grates on my fucking nerves, and there's plenty of words that grate on my nerves, like juice and stuff, and panty dropper and all those fragrance sort of things. But elixir seems to have been co-opted by brands as a sort of marketing thing, and so my first kind of guiding hand gesture will be to surreptitiously get marketing wankers to stop using the term elixir. It's meaningless and it's annoying.
It sort of means people use it in instead of using pure parfum, and they kind of make it by using the word elixir. They're trying to use it's like some sort of fairy tale.
Yes.
Of youth.
Yeah.
The elixir, the magic thing. And it's just like, well, it's just a stronger thing.
Is it stronger though? Is it stronger? Because
is it stronger though? Is it?
I don't know, because it doesn't actually speak to the perfume concentration, does it? There's no, you can sort of define, broadly, eau de toilette, eau de parfum, extrait de parfum, etc. You can sort of broadly define those in terms of percentage. But elixir, it's just a word. It doesn't...
Nonsense.
I don't like it. It's irritating me. So that...
See, and thus unearth the magic, though, right? Because that's the magic for the marketers, isn't it? It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
They don't have to be. They're not held to any standard by using that. It is a Chad word, isn't it? It's a Chad word along with juice. Like like the two words go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like, the Giga Chad with his like Sauvage elixir, like, the juice is like, oh, the juice in my elixir, like, oh, fuck off, it's perfume. You this term juice, now you've brought it up, you set me off, but it's only used because people are too insecure to say perfume, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can't possibly say perfume because it makes me feel like a gay, or like
gay!
a girl or something. Do you know what?
You're so
exactly,
gay.
Yeah, right. So
you said perfume. You must be gay.
It's juice. It's got the colour of my juice in my elixir. Like, oh, fuck off. Just fuck off.
Yeah. Okay. So that bothers me. There's something else I want to ban as well, and not all of my. Actually, no. Most of them are banning things. But that's just me, right? I mean, you can have anything. You could replace any perfumer at any house with any. Do what you want, right? This is open season. But I do want to ban another thing, which is the weird sort of career choice thing of fragrance influencing, and this to me. And I'm not going to name the poor fucking account because it's ridiculous, but I got sent a message the other day. Said, hey, Dan, I really want to be a fragrance influencer just like you. I was like,
nice.
You picked the wrong one, sunshine. But said,
did you call him a cunt? Time to fuck off.
I didn't, but I politely declined their request because what they were then asking was not for some advice on how to fucking, how to build an Instagram sort of account. It was not advice on perfume or anything. It wasn't even advice on how to get free shit. It was literally just, could you send me some money so I could buy some perfumes to get started? And it's like, and I was like, what? You want me to send you money? And he was like, yeah, just like, any amount, just a buck is fine, just anything really. I was like, no, I don't think I will. I'm not going to send you any money at all, because if you want to get into perfume, go get into perfume, and then if you decide you want to fucking at some point later on try and I guess put social media content out there because the thing you love, then give that a go as well. But you sort of imagine starting with the concept of, I would like to become a fragrance influencer, but I don't know anything about perfume. I don't know it. I don't own any perfume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around asking accounts that I don't know for financial contributions to get me going. And that to me, it's sort of, obviously it's absurd, but it speaks to the sort of cynicism of the perfume influencer as a profession kind of thing, and that it just pisses me off. There's so many of these fucking accounts that have started with a bottle of Sauvage and a bottle of Bleu de Chanel, and they think that somehow qualifies them as a perfume reviewer.
He hasn't even done that.
No, he hasn't even done that. No, exactly. It doesn't own any perfume. But it's, yeah, so, I would ban. I would remove this kind of professionalization of the perfume. And I hate the word influencer, but you know what I mean. Sort of social media.
You can use the term grifter instead.
Yes, yes.
The
Grifter.
professional grifter. Yeah.
So yeah,
I've got one that's less banning.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about that, so my notes, right? I'm gonna have to expand on it because my notes literally just say Berty Douche to Penhaligon.
Oh, but I like it.
I think this is going to be controversial.
No, I like it. I love that. That's brilliant.
See,
Yeah, but he has done Penhaligon's
he
in
has
the
done
past.
he's done
he did
Sartorial.
Sartorial.
And Loft
I'm sure
Hair.
he did Tralala as well.
He did do Tralala, yeah. And
yeah.
And so my thoughts on it are, right, that I love Penhaligon's as a concept, right? I love the branding, right? I love the eccentric British thing. I love the sort of romanticism of the colonial kind of trade routes and things like that. Like, I love all of that shit. But the perfumes are never really that interesting. But what I think they could do, if they got Berty Douche in to do all of them, is like harken back to that golden age of L'Artisan Parfumeur and like reignite it, you know, with that great branding and stuff. And I think they could do I think that'd be great. So that was my thought. But I thought it would be more controversial. I thought you
as a
would
creative director, though.
No, I think that's a fucking masterstroke. I would be up for that. I think I love Berty Douche. And my favourite Berty Douche stuff is
Berty Douche.
when he was doing all the, like you say, the early.
Is it worth pointing out,
stuff,
even for anyone who's listening to this, who Berty Douche is? I mean, surely
we are talking about Bertrand Douche.
Yeah, I mean, we're just assuming that
it's
everyone knows that, and I think it's probably a reasonable assumption that they do. But yeah, Berty Douche.
I think they do.
So.
But yeah, I mean, he was in my bag before you gave me Antoine Lee.
Oh, don't say that. People are going to think even more that you've just named your douche Bertie.
It was a previous
it was
episode,
in my bag.
folks.
Yeah.
But I think that him going to Penhaligon's would be a bloody masterstroke, or him just going back to L'Artisan.
Yeah. See, that the only reason I sort of put it on to Penhaligon's is because I love the branding. So it's like, do what you did at L'Artisan, but with cooler branding.
Yeah.
Happy days. That's it's sort of mashing two great things from, yeah.
I do feel a bit, though, with him is that when he was at that L'Artisan stage, he was absolutely in his purple period, and he was just producing for them a phenomenal amount of frags, and some of them were really conceptual and some of them were very, very commercial, and there was loads of stuff that came out very quickly that then just got discontinued. But he was like obviously trying loads of stuff, and I feel like his more recent stuff, maybe, I don't know. I've got the sample set for Nila Vermeer, which I haven't tried, which is his more recent things, which I haven't tried. I know that I felt like I was in love with him for a long time, and I fell out of love with him a little bit, and I kind of I'm hoping that with the Nila Vermeer stuff I'm going to fall back in love with him again. But we shall find out.
It's good, that Nila Vermeer stuff, I thought.
Is it really?
I loved it, yeah.
I felt like he was like on this massive trajectory, and then he just took on so much, and he was just producing he was almost like an Alberto Morillas level of production, and I just felt like he lost it a bit. And even Tralala and stuff, I was just like, you phoned that in, mate. So I'm really curious to try the Nila Vermeer stuff, because I know that's him coming back.
Maybe we should actually just start spreading that rumour that Douche 4 is going to Penhaligon's, and
see how
with
powerful
a view
we are.
Yeah, with a view to manifesting that as a reality. Well, I heard it on Les Oderants, so must be fucking true. Yeah, I think that's a jolly good call, Ben.
I do, and I think Penhaligon's are missing a trick. I think they should headhunt you on the strength of this podcast, and
single idea.
You should make that happen. It's not a single idea, because imagine you had a renaissance of that excitement that was around when, L'Artisan and like Serge Lutens and all that kind of stuff. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? It really
that freedom
would.
to experiment a little bit more, and not be so rigid.
Yeah.
It's like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool. So I cast around for some suggestions. on Facebook. But another ban was ban the use of Ambrofix.
Yes.
Why? It's amazing material. It's in most of your perfumes. Why are you banning it?
I'm with you, James. I don't see any.
Do you mean overuse of it?
It's probably in every modern perfume.
The overuse
overdose
of
it.
I think,
okay.
I think the overdose of any of the woody ambers. I mean, sometimes there's perfumes that I spray and I go, that's nice, and then within minutes I can just smell Ambrofix, Amber Extreme, Ambroxan, or whatever, and it just pumps out at me, and I can really smell them when they're there, and they just smell burnt brown to me. And
burnt brown.
There's a lot of stuff it puts me off.
Well,
and
I think we should maybe have a reminiscence sesh on some materials, and I've been saying that for weeks, but I will fucking do it.
You have,
right?
Yeah.
But sorry.
Can we
guys.
do woody ambers?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to, because I hate them so much. And I know that they're in loads of things, and I think it is definitely what you say about the overuse.
Well, you've meant.
But I would love to explore them so that I fall in love with them, because at the moment I fucking hate them.
Mentioned there, and again, there might be a bit of a conflation, and this is nobody's fault, because they're all called amber fucking something, right? And they're all either pretty much the same smell but stronger or weaker, or just from different manufacturers, or they're made by a different process. Some of them are like bio processes, some of them are, or different kinds of chemical processes to make them, right? And that's how they get there, or they slightly tweak molecules to make them, unique to them or whatever. So I think when you talk about the family of like your Ambrofix and it's crudely ambroxide, so like things like Ambrofix and Ambrox Super, right? They have a very distinct smell from Amber Extreme and what's the other one? Amberwood, right? So those are they smell totally different to Amberfix and the other, so they shouldn't even be conflated at all, because I get that they could both still annoy somebody in overdosing perfumes, but they are vastly quite different smells to them.
There's a screechiness that I get when I smell them, and I'm like,
Yeah. So I think we should go over those again, because I think when they're used properly as well, or in moderation and in a really good formula, you probably don't really overtly know that they're there. And that is, I mean, Amber Extreme probably not, because you want that effect. It's difficult. It's a difficult one, because I do like them, but I also I get that there's an abuse of them, and that certain perfumes that I'm just like, nah, that's fucking annoying. So yeah, I get it. But I think to like somebody going, oh yeah, ban them. Why are you going to ban them? They're a part of somebody's palette. Quite an important part.
we're not banning them.
No, I know,
we're being overly verbose about a thing, because we are the fucking Oderants.
I get that, yeah.
And if we don't rant, then there's no point in us.
No,
being
but I mean,
here,
it's not even us that are saying that, because we all would admit that, okay, yeah, it's got to be used in perfume, but the person who maybe suggested that, it's a bit of a kind of education thing where they might not know anything about it. They might just be parroting. They might have never smelled Amber Fix or Amber Extreme on its own or whatever, and they don't really know. They're just going, oh, okay, everyone's saying this is shit, so it annoys me, so I'm going to fucking say it's shit as well. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying, like, there's more nuance to it, and you've got to explore that to be fully informed and go, actually, yes, I still stick to what I'm saying. I do fucking hate Amber Extreme. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, instead of banning something, then I would like to buy the house of Creed. And I'm sure if I was Ben and I bought the house of Creed, I'd then sort of drive it directly off a cliff or something in a bus. He's nodding enthusiastically. But
like it.
I'm with you. Yeah. No, I would restore a bunch of Creed perfumes to their original sort of glory.
But you go back to 1763.
Yes. Back to where it all began. Back to the original Aventus in 1763.
Cranking out Aventus for King Henry VIII.
Sire, I beseech you, thine Aventus.
Le pineapple. But is it smoky?
Forsooth thee, what batch?
Sirrah, what batch hath thou harvest?
Yes, exactly.
If thine does not have the F batch, then I am not for thee.
Okay. Ridiculous. I walked into that one, didn't I? But I would restore perfumes back to some semblance of quality. I think there are. What I don't understand is
when was this the Creed had quality? Sorry, let's just explore this one. When was this?
This was before it was at 1763 when they were making.
I don't like you guys anymore. You're very mean.
Do you mean sort of roughly like 1990 or whatever when they started? I don't even know when they started.
I'm going to say early 2000s.
2011.
Early 2000s, roughly. But stuff like Bois de Portugal, which I think is a superb perfume even today, but the older stuff smells better. They clearly used higher quality materials than they do today. And
maybe I don't know.
I'm going to say yes. They smell much better.
Okay. I would just say that a lot of sandalwood, whether it's real sandalwood or it's a sandalwood accord, a lot of those base materials, again, it's just that thing of vintage perfume, tend to smell better.
It's just age
over time.
Yeah.
So it might be that they've aged really well, which is completely valid as well. Or did they use finer materials? This is why when people say, "Oh, they definitely use better materials," I'm like, did they, or has that just been, nicely stewing
But
down?
if you're going to talk about sandalwood, then there's a whole period of time when people were using Mysore sandalwood as a sort of matter of course, and then it became endangered, and everyone moved to Australian sandalwood, which smells different. So if any sandalwood perfume has had a change, generally, because there's just not enough Mysore sandalwood to go around anymore.
I'll give you a non-sandalwood one. Virgin Island water definitely used to smell a lot funkier and more enjoyable than it does now. It smells pleasant enough now, but it sort of had a heft to it that it doesn't anymore. And almost, I think we're getting away from the point, maybe a little bit here. My question, I guess, about all of this is from a commercial point of view. Does it benefit them to have a less good quality product? Because are they just selling more of it now? And I sort of, I wonder about that.
I don't think they care, do they? Because it's all because now they're so deeply
all they care about
entrenched in their marketing.
All they care about is profit.
They don't need to have a great product. You see it in handbags, you see it in so many things.
Sure.
In terms of like leather goods or whatever. You look at the Chanel 20 years ago, the leather they were using was completely different to the leather they're using now. They weren't producing as much, and it was exquisite. And now they're producing huge amounts, and it's gone down the pan. But their markup is huge, and it's all just riding on the brand.
And I accept that, but my intuition is if they had better quality products, they would sell even more. They would sell more Aventus if it was more like batches from,
days of yore
when, knights roamed the countryside.
I think then what you're doing is you're assuming that people care or that people even notice.
Exactly. Like between people like us, they might sell more, but the plebs, the general masses, don't give a shit as long as it's Creed and it's on their shelf and it's expensive. I remember, Creed a while, like going back 15 years, and it was hard really to find Creed, and then they sort of, I don't know if it was when they sold the company or what, but like going back again, like maybe like 10, 12, 14 years ago, they started getting like editorials in magazines and stuff, and like interviews with like the Olivier or whatever his name was, and suddenly they just like exploded, and now and I think it's been a more or less a downhill slide since then. You know, like they you know, before it was absolutely unspoken of that you'd be able to buy Creed on the grey, and now everyone had Aventus cologne before it was even on the shop shelves. Do you know what I mean? Like it was, and I think like that, in a sense, like reflects the company as a whole. In you know, they have just gone massively downhill. But if you look at their profits, they don't correlate to that. They go in complete opposite direction. So
yeah, and
you know, I think that answers your question.
Well,
like say that they're entrenched. The brand is entrenched so much to the point where people just think Aventus expensive, gotta have it.
Okay, well, I'd still restore their products to their former glory, because I think that would be a nice thing, and I would be happier about that.
Because you're not driven by the profit, because you're driven by the passion and the love for it, not the profit. Whereas fucking the people who own the shithole is, you know, they're driven by profit. They don't care what it smells like.
Yeah,
they don't care if it's F batch or J batch or you know, this one smells cheaper than the last. They don't give a fuck.
To a degree, but you know, it's not a sustainable business model selling shit. I mean, just ask Gerald Ratner. You know, you can't just sell crap indefinitely, and you know, you do have to have a product. You can't just trade on a sort of reputation and the fact that you know, your product is
I'm not sure
expensive.
I agree. I think you can sell crap indefinitely. Look at like, you know, when you look at like, I mean, this applies to everything, but when you look at just perfumes, obviously, because it's a perfume podcast, look at things like, you know, Daisy or whatever the fuck.
Oh my God, I tried that
Daisy?
this week. I went to Boots and I sprayed Daisy, Marc Jacobs Daisy, just to see, because I haven't smelled it for so long. I was like, I always hate it. I was walking past oh my God, the bland was horrific.
Yeah. And there is like
so
countless
bad.
perfumes like that are being sold out at the perfume shop and that. And they sell gangbusters every year for like people, because people buy them for the like, oh, that would be a good easy birthday present from your nan or whatever.
Yeah, but
like
Daisy
you know, like, I
doesn't
think
cost
you can sell shit
£300
indefinitely.
You can sell shit indefinitely, but eventually your prices have to reach some sort of equilibrium where the people are aware that it's shit, and this is the price they're prepared to pay for this shit.
Absolutely, and I think that's where Creed is at the moment. They're on this balancing act of like they've lost, I think, a degree of their prestige, but at the same time they're now hitting a much bigger market. So they're like balancing this delicate tightrope, I think, where they're sort of like they're not, you know, before people were like, you know, the people who got there first or whatever were happy to pay £300 for a bottle of Aventus because it was Aventus and it was, you know, exclusive. Whereas now it's not. I mean, you see that in the batch wankery that goes on. That batch wankery only exists because every fucker can have like Aventus now. So what you've got to do there is you've got to create a new elitism, you know, like, so now it's like, oh, well, you've got Aventus. Cool, so everyone's got Aventus, but you haven't got the same batch that I've got because my batch is better than yours. And that is what all of batch wankery is all about. It's about wankers trying to like pretend that they've got something that's slightly more elite than the others because now what they had and they thought was exclusive isn't anymore. So they've replaced it with their own little weird fucking fantasies that I don't
Dan's little
fully
face
understand.
now.
Prove me wrong. What I'm saying is right. Like,
all these tossers with their fucking batches, you're sitting there like.
No, but to get back to the point, like I think Creed are now like balancing that fine point where they're sort of, you know, like, and presumably you want to restore them to the old days.
I would like to.
They gave a shit.
Yeah.
Because I think now they're kind of balancing that tightrope between like they're not prestigious anymore, but they're still trying to charge those prices. And then the markets, are they paying it? Because I don't know the one that buys it like fucking retail. Everyone I know buys either decants or
fakes or dupes.
Yeah, or like raffles or shit like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, fair enough. All right. So not a lot of love for restoring Creed there, but fuck it. I'm.
No, I mean, I think your idea is fair enough. Like, because
I'm the god of FragCom.
I'm just kind of confirm.
I am able to simply change whatever I would like to change entirely at my discretion. Fliss, what would you like to change?
And this is not going to be popular.
Oh.
But it's right up there with sports fans. I would ban beast mode.
Oh.
You can keep longevity. You can have longevity. That's a fine thing. But this obsession with mad silage has just got to stop. I mean, sillage. Yeah, you can have your longevity. You can keep that. That's fine. But this obsession with filling a room, this sillage that has to be beast, has got to stop. This idea that, I mean, I literally see people on the Facebook groups or whatever asking about what is beast mode at the moment? What good beast mode frags do you know? They're not asking about the notes. They're not asking about the quality or the texture of the fragrance. They're not asking about who made it or the ingredients. They're not asking about anything other than how big is it. And they literally are buying shit because it's
This
big.
smells like dick salad.
Yeah, but is it strong?
But it's going to last all day and it's going to 5 feet.
You're going to smell like a dick salad
think,
to everyone.
I think we're going back again to batch wankery because there are perfumes. I think the problem with perfumes, right, is that, well, not a problem per se, but like it attracts like two very vastly different groups or sects of people that come together over fragrance, but one of them is interested in the prestigious and like, they want everyone to smell them and go, "Core, you're rich," and others are interested in the artistry of it. Do you know what I mean? And we're probably more on the artistry side of things. But there are also a group of people who they don't care about all that shit. They just want to smell big. They just want everyone to know how much fucking money they got. That's why they take photos of their perfume next to the steering wheel. Do you know what I mean? Like
the steering wheel and a
Rolex
and a gun and a
or,
Rolex.
It's
just like,
it's like this like fragrance is an extension of their bank account rather than a way to, I don't know, maybe just enjoy something nice or project your personality or something like that. But like for them, it's like, no, fuck that. It's worth £300 and that's what I care about. Everyone knows I'm fucking minted, mate. Like, because I've got a Merc and a Rolex and a fucking bottle of Creed.
But I think it goes beyond that for me as well. It's like, you can love music, but I wouldn't want to be in a car with my windows down and my radio right up.
Yeah,
driving.
But there are plenty of wankers that do.
But there are plenty of wankers that are. So a lot of the time when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to it for me and I'm enjoying it. And I might have it on loud enough for other people in the room to be able to hear it. But I don't have it on so loud that my neighbours get pissed off.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something around that with perfume as well. It's like, I like to smell nice. If other people in the room can smell me occasionally as I walk past and they comment, that's lovely, but that's not my aim. But what I don't want is to leave the room and people to have known where I've been. It's just like there's that extra bit of
like a slug.
Like
a slug.
Like a slug. Yeah. The slug trail of beast mode is just, I just find it offensive. And I think I find it offensive because a lot of the time it's like really, a lot of it is quite offensive modern base chemicals that I find difficult, and a lot of the more delicate, delightfully created things don't have that beast mode, but then you just get this kind of like this screechy that I find like.
But then in defense of that, like the OG is basically Amouage, isn't it? And I fucking love that.
Yeah,
that's like the OG beast, the blue beast.
So there's a thing, right? I don't mind if a perfume is really almost like sort of anti-socially strong. I don't have a problem with it, and I can moderate the amount that I wear to cope with that. But I take the point entirely that if your sort of purchasing criteria number one is is this beast mode? It's really barely better than is this a panty dropper?
Yeah, no, exactly. And sometimes I see it on the groups, and somebody will ask that question, and my fingers itch, and I've learned now just not to answer, just not to
don't
engage or say anything, because I can't be nice. I can't say anything pleasant, so just don't say it at all, Flissy.
Yeah, that's a good call.
It's very, as Ben said before, it's very Giga Chad, isn't it?
Very Giga Chad.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. The other thing I guess I would like to add is almost like a forced kind of transparency with perfume reviewers, influencers, people making videos. But say that so and so had to pay to be in this list. Say that so and so sent me this for free. Say that I get a kickback when you use my discount code.
I think people would hate them a lot less.
It shouldn't really change anything. But transparency, I think, is. Yeah, I agree. I just think more transparency is broadly speaking a good thing. Not to the point where you want to kind of completely destroy, the mystique. I was thinking about if I could do anything, I would like to make sure that people could not say they were the perfumer if they aren't. I'm looking at you, Roger Dove, or whatever. But actually, I don't give a shit. I sort of like the sort of ambiguity and the mystique about that stuff, and the fact that we debate it. We'd
only have half a podcast.
There's truth in that as well.
Episodes are us bitching about it.
Yeah, there is definitely truth in that as well. But I'm sort of relaxed about that. I think a certain level of bullshittery is fine. It's just where the commercial interests are not declared that bothers me, I think.
Do you think there is a level of that, certainly with somebody like Roger Dove, where it's they could come out and clarify, but I don't think this applies to him, because I think he genuinely is like, no, I don't really care. What do the royal family say? Never fucking explain or never complain.
Never apologise.
Yeah, all that kind of shit.
Never apologise, never complain.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that's the sort of attitude that I think he has. But I think in some instances it might become a thing where people are speculating whether you're the perfumer or not, and it might be that thing of I'd rather be talked about than not talked about, even if it's
absolutely
broadly negative. It might add to the mystique and to the whole, just make your brand more interesting, because if your perfumes aren't particularly interesting and your marketing isn't. I think I have a thing. I'm not really sure how to sort of put it across, but I think, like, I was looking at a perfume the other day because I wore it. I only put up the post today, but Givenchy Pie, right?
Oh God, that's a blast from the past.
Exactly right. And I thought to myself, brands, and okay, Givenchy are a mainstream brand in shops and stuff. They're not coming up with kind of like really super high concept ideas where they go, right, okay, someone goes into a meeting and goes, the mathematical ratio pi, let's base a whole perfume on that. Yeah, good idea, let's do that. Oh, we could make it like a monolith looking fucking bottle and stuff, which you might think, okay, that's all bullshit and old hat, and if the perfume's not very good anyway, what does it matter? It kind of, it's sad that there's not like more of that. It seems to be like they seem to go down a route of like more like safe than that.
Berty Morillas.
I guess I want to see more like mystical
creativity.
Yeah, well, not even creativity, just like more like interesting things like that, where it's like, why pie?
Why pie? Why pie? That's how data is moved around by Wi-Fi. I think that Herrera's range with the shoe Perfume bottles are very
yeah.
high concept indeed. And hopefully they will release a shoe elixir or whatever it's called. Good girl, bad girl, I don't know, cunt face, whatever the perfume's called. Stiletto twat, I think.
I'd like to see one released in a welly, like a welly boot. That'd be nice.
Hunter Welly. I want to ban Aaron Terence Hughes' naming of perfumes. I mean, Aaron Terence Hughes has every right to exist, and I've given up criticising him as an individual. But for the love of fucking God, stop calling your perfumes names like Fanny and Big Cunt and whatever. The fucking
Big cunt.
Well, I'm pretty sure that is one of them, isn't it? Yeah. Fanny Elixir. Exactly. They're just stupid. Slut Elixir. Like, really? Slut Elixir? I do wish you'd just fucking not Slut Elixir. What a bunch of shit.
What's he come up with recently then?
I don't know. I just probably Boss Bastard. That was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Boss
Fuck
Bastard.
munch.
Boss bitch.
Bat what? Clunge.
Fuck munch.
Fuck munch.
So I'm just going to read them out now. So because there says addicted, boss bastard, carbon daddy.
Carbon daddy.
That's
Carbon
weird.
daddy.
No, carbon is one, and then daddy is another. But daddy is that's dodge. Filth XXL.
Filth daddy.
Hard candy elixir.
Oh, no, not an elixir.
Yeah, and it's not great, is it really? Slut elixir.
Oh God, that is awful. Anyway, yes, I would like to ban the use of. Well, in fact, I'll extend it past ATH. I would like to ban edgy, faux edginess in perfume names and stuff. I just think it's fucking. It just seems so juvenile and stupid.
No. I just so I wrote one down, right, that I want to change, but I thought it was a little bit political, so I won't say it. But since we seem to have gone down that path anyway, my if I was the Jeebus, and I don't know how I would do this, so I've literally put discuss because I don't know how to do it, is remove some or take some of the power away from the big four, like Givaudan, IFF, Simrise and Firmenich. And because if you look at them in the last year, they've had allegations, and we should, we have to point out that they're allegations, but in the last year they've had allegations levied against them for price fixing, acting as a cartel to price fix, for artificially limiting perfume materials and shitty labour practices. So if we want to enjoy this this kind of hobby or whatever, it's kind of hard when you've got these fucking dicks hanging over your head being shit houses basically. And on top of that, as a sort of side effect, and this is a little bit more fun and less political, is that if you did remove some of their power, would you potentially then open the doors for more indie perfumers or more choice of perfumers to houses who who only pick a lot of these perfumers and a lot of these houses because they're tied to cheap or trademark materials. So if we took some of that power away from those four,
I had a really similar one, Ben. I'd written down all materials for perfumes, all perfumes should be safely and ethically sourced, which is essentially what the same thing in terms of what you're saying around the labour practices. I mean, it's kind of like the Fragcom equivalent of world peace, which we kind of isn't it sweet, isn't it nice? But I think that stuff like that it's a thing.
Well, I mean, I think there's certainly some. I think there's some interesting questions to be asked about how the market works and whether there is kind of cartel behaviour and sort of collusion, essentially, at points in the supply chain. And I don't know whether there is. My guess is that actually, if you've got 4 big fragrance houses,
So their offices were raided, and they basically said that there was evidence that they had.
That's the
I think it's still up in the air, and it is definitely allegations.
Right.
But,
So
their offices were raided.
Yeah. But there's I don't think there is anything, in the sort of body of economic study that would say that there is a predefined sort of number of things of suppliers at which you would consider that this was a correctly sized number of suppliers. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with the idea of having 4 big suppliers that control most of the stuff, if that is the right number for this particular market.
Yeah, and when I wrote this down,
what I don't know is whether or not that's right. But if there are, no. All I was going to say, if there is price collusion, then and stuff, then that is obviously a problem, and that needs to be fixed. But just the concept of having 4 large companies, sorry, what? Yeah. But just the fundamental concept of having 4 large companies isn't.
Yeah, and when I wrote it down, I also
is what I'm getting at.
The fact that actually there's a lot of positives to having these powerful entities that are putting loads of money into R&D, and every year they're constantly having to release these new molecules and things to because capitalism, right? And they've got to constantly be growing or appearing to be moving the ball forward or whatever. So they bring a lot of good. I think where since I'm the Fragcom god and I can do what I want, I think I just want them to act more ethically. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they're intrinsically bad, and I think obviously they bring a huge amount to the industry, but I just want them to act more ethically. And it would be nice if there was more or less incentive maybe to use their perfumers because a lot of those incentives are often not creatively chosen. They're just about finances, and that's a bit shit.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I think I've no
cool. But that's
issue
sorted then. That's
yeah. Go ahead and sort it AF.
I don't know enough about it to comment. I don't know enough about the law. I don't know enough about their practices. I know about the headlines of things that have come out, but I don't think anybody has enough information. I don't know what constitutes a monopoly, or is it that they're preventing other companies from getting in? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know enough about it to comment, to be honest. And I think as far as some of those other practices are concerned, yes, they're profiting from exploitation or some of these bad labour practices and things, but you could say ultimately they're responsible because they're sort of top of the chain. Well, in fact, they're not, because then you've got your L'Oreals and your other companies above.
LMVH and stuff, yeah.
So it's kind of a chain. And you would say, well, unfortunately, in the countries where they pick the jasmine and they do these things, those people are directly exploiting those people. And then, yes, okay, it's in order to get work with Givaudan or whoever else. So I don't know enough about it, to really make a proper informed decision. That's why we probably need to speak to somebody in the industry, and even then, you'd have to probably do a deep dive. We're not fucking investigative journalists, are we? We're just 4 people.
We could be.
Talk about.
You can be who you want.
Well, we could be, and do you know what? It'd be interesting, because the whole point is you want to get to the truth, or you want to get to as many different sides of what's going on as possible. So, for me, I can't, I can't make a decision on it because I don't know enough about who's truly to blame, or how much of the blame we're going to portion out to different people.
Okay. Well, look, we're getting towards the end of this. I guess I want to, as well as the rumour what Ben has started that Douche 4 is going to Penhaligon's. I also want to start the rumour that Jean Claude Ellena is going back to Hermes.
Clone him.
Oh.
Clone him. Just get him to make loads of clones of JCE, and then he can like just pump out like his like army of clones can pump out shitloads of frags all day long.
Yeah,
and we'd all be chuffed.
I'm down with it. I think we've banned lots of stuff.
Dystopian god future of us. Lezo's dystopian future. Just shit, like just thousands of JCEs pumping out, like
all marching in lockstep down the street. Yeah, brilliant. I suspect even if you had like an entire army of JCEs, Alberto Morillas would still produce more perfumes.
Outpace their output. Yeah.
Like Alberto Morillas vomits up like half a dozen perfumes before breakfast. This motherfucker does not play. We banned a load of stuff. We banned beast mode. We've banned what else did we ban? We banned people asking me for money. That's extremely uncool.
Obviously.
There were other things.
Sorry, just one that I would do.
Yeah.
Sack Kirkshan from Dior.
Well, I mean, who would you appoint?
Dominique Ropion. At some point, I think his name was mentioned, and I'm like, or someone mentioned him maybe going to Chanel a while ago or something like that.
What about that punchy one? The guy you like, the one who looks like he's going to smack you in the teeth.
Yes, slopey forehead. That is it Pierre Bourdon?
Maurice Roussel. That's who I was thinking.
That's him, Maurice Roussel.
Yes, yeah. Maurice Roussel. He looks like he's going to fucking spark you out. Like he's just got that look to him. You would not want to fucking get into a brawl with Maurice Roussel. Anyway, no, he'd be a good choice. It's kind of quite a roundabout way of getting there, but yeah, to deal.
Do you know who I would get?
Go on.
Barnaby Filion.
Was this is for Dior?
Yeah, everyone would be like, who the fuck is that? And yeah, rightly so. But I'd give him a chance at Dior.
What has he done?
Nothing really. He's done Aesop, whatever that Aesop one was called, Marrakesh. He did an amazing one for Paul Smith. Now, you're always going on about Paul Smith Rose and like a few shitty Paul Smiths. Most of Paul Smith like perfumes are beyond terrible. There's one called Portrait, I think, that was by Barnaby Filion, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's like weird blackcurrant incense. It's bizarre. You might be able to pick up a bottle cheap. It's the Man one. It's the most unique, like, designer scent thing of, the last, I don't know, it might have come out 10 years ago. Who knows?
Right.
It came out a while ago. Anyway,
so
I'd give somebody like that, an unknown, somebody that you've got no expectations of, and if they cock it up, then no one's really well, I suppose Dior are probably out a few quid, but just let them have a go. Do you know what I mean? That's part of what it should be about.
Yeah, I mean, I think a house like
Look,
a venerable house
face.
like
he's a beautiful man.
That's definitely the way Dior operates.
I don't think that's how Dior works.
I think it is, and I think it should be. A venerable house like Dior should basically be prepared to take risks on some complete fucking unknown and just let them have a raz.
Let's go full circle on this one, because this is how we tie things up, right? So Biche, yeah? So we were talking about Biche before. The whole thing...
Hang on, everyone, stand by. James is wrapping up an episode. Get on this.
Hermes, right? Hermes obviously felt the pressure to have somebody, and we were saying, who the fuck else would they get? Do you know what I mean? There's not really many, a lot of them are, knocking on and that. And he was one that it was like they had to have a name. So it's not like they can have a nobody. Why can't they have a nobody? They could have a nobody. Have a Barnaby Fillon. Let him go to Hermes. Give him all the jobs. Give Carter Weeks Maddox a go. Do you know what I mean? Stick him in there.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I think going back to the Hermes thing and using that to close out the episode, I think Biche is a sort of an interesting choice, but I don't think they had to think all that hard about it. They need someone who still has 20 years of actual productive life ahead of them. They need someone who's got some fucking clout, someone who's produced some commercially successful stuff, and presumably someone who's got a reasonably modern outlook on perfumery. And I guess he ticks most of them boxes.
Well, because I think we were thinking, this young whippersnapper, Nargel has taken her. She's like 68 or some shit. Do you know?
Is she? Jesus.
I was surprised. I might be exaggerating there, but I think she's in her 60s. Yeah, no, I'm not.
Turns out she's 25.
That's fine. I think, to be honest, a perfumer's life, and they probably get better as they get older, to be honest. And it's not like something that it really affects with age.
She's born in 1959.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
How old is that then?
65.
65.
Yeah.
There you go, 65. So, they really, like you say, it was probably, they needed to get Biche in.
Yeah, Jesus. All right, well, look, we've been talking shit for quite long enough. I very much enjoy playing the fragrance gods. Hopefully our dear listeners have enjoyed listening to our inane bullshit for what must be like the best part of 16 hours now of recorded content today. Look, we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time. Until then, I would suggest you, fucking just get on with shit as best as possible. Life is hard, tough shit. We've been Les Oderants, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time. Oh my God, James. Yeah, with James's wildly inappropriate sock puppet. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.